All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. As you can see right off the bat, we're going to get right into Bears talk. This is an all new episode of Sport Court. I'm Ace, as everybody knows, and I got a good friend of mine, John. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Ace. Thank you for having me. Great to finally get this done and talk some Bears. A lot of stuff going on with training camp, so looking forward to catching up and breaking things down before the season begins.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I know we've been trying to kind of get something going for a while, like a year, I think. But let's dive right into it, man. I told you before the show that I wanted to kind of jump into a guy I don't normally like to talk about on this show, Mitch Trubisky. He had some comments the other day. I'm going to read them off, and then I'd kind of like your feedback on them. What he said was, even if you got a completion, I felt like sometimes it wasn't necessarily what the coach wanted. They put you in a little box a bit more than you wanted to be, and I think that restricted you as a player. The difference between my experience in Chicago and what I saw in Buffalo is they allowed Josh to go out there and play his game. In Chicago, they wanted me to play the coach's game. Call it whatever you will. That's just how it felt to me. So there was always kind of the question, who was the bigger problem, Trubisky or Nagy? I'd like to know kind of what you think of those comments.
I think it's a wholeheartedly Matt Nagy issue. I just made a video about this today. It's also going to air on the radio, air on television this week, where I address these comments. And look, at the end of the day, I don't think Mitch Trubisky is as bad as people want to say he is. So we have to remember, 29-21 record, winning quarterback, best rated passer in Bears history for what it's worth. I don't think he's that bad. I think he was, unfortunately, the victim of a coach who was a saboteur. I mean, that was already proven in the athletic report where Matt Nagy refused to meet with him after the 2020 season. Now we're hearing this from Mitch Trubisky, and to me it makes perfect sense. Matt Nagy's the type of coach where if you don't do it his way, you're already screwed. Mitch Trubisky could have ran 100 yards downfield, driven 100 yards downfield, scored a game-winning touchdown, and probably Matt Nagy would have an issue with it, saying, boy, you hit the wrong guy, or you checked out on 3rd and 4, should have gone to Darnell Mooney all the way downfield. Whatever it might have been, it's an issue. It's a problem. I really do believe it's a Matt Nagy issue first and foremost. And here's the best part about it, Ace. Matt Nagy's in a better position today than Mitch Trubisky really is. Matt Nagy did not lose any credibility. He didn't lose respect. He's not a meme amongst the National Football League. Mitch Trubisky is. And even to this day, this cloud of Chicago Bears issues is always going to follow him wherever he goes. He might end up being a perennial backup in the NFL. In year 15 of his career, everybody's still going to be talking about Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky. Matt Nagy escaped, and yet he brought down more people. So it really doesn't make any sense to me. It's unfortunate that that's the way things went, but at the end of the day, that's the fact of the matter. I give Mitch Trubisky a lot of credit for coming out and saying it. Must have been tough to work up the courage to say that out loud. Granted, he didn't reference Matt Nagy's name personally, but it certainly was enough for me to know that he's talking about Matt Nagy, and there was a serious issue with both of them here in Chicago for the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, like you were saying in the athletic report where Mitch went to go meet with him and Nagy just kind of ghosted him. I mean, obviously the productivity on the field showed that everything wasn't as cohesive as they tried to make it. I'm extremely happy that they went in a completely different way. They got rid of him and Pace and brought in Poles and Eberflus, which kind of brings me to my next question. How confident should we be in Poles and Eberflus? I know Poles is a first-time GM, young guy. Eberflus, he's been in the NFL for a while, but first-time head coach, defensive-minded head coach. When you have a young quarterback as a defensive-minded head coach, really the route you want to take. How confident are you in these guys?
I think it's fine to be cautiously optimistic at this point. I don't want to give them too much credit nor too much blame because there's been no games played yet. There have been moves that have been made in the offseason that have been good and maybe somewhat bad. I think Poles has done a great job recently at finding ways to help out this offensive line despite not having enough funds to do it. I love the Schofield signing. I love the Reeves signing. I like that Jones is really coming into his own in camp. But, Teven Jenkins, that's a big issue. But you know what? I give Poles and Eberflus credit. You're weeding out people, right? That's part of the job when you're inheriting a team and you're inheriting a roster that just comes in out of the blue and you didn't ask for these guys. In the case for Jenkins, you're weeding him out and you're making sure that, he may not fit into this new culture, this new scheme, and that's okay. So these are things that I like about both of them. Obviously, Poles got a lot of heat earlier this year because he got rid of a lot of namesakes. No more Khalil Mack, and there were some rumors, at least, with Robert Quinn, but fortunately, he's still on the team moving forward, at least for this year. So, I think at the end of the day, they've done what they've tried to do at this point. I think the big evaluation is going to come in when we see how they do this season, when we see how this Bears team does. They inherited a horrible situation. I will say that. You're leaving, you're losing Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. You're in cap space hell, and you're going to need a couple of years to get out of it. You have no resources virtually. Ryan Poles did a great job, in my opinion, in the draft. Probably one of the best drafts out of all the teams in the NFL, no question. He did a great job at turning minimal picks into multiple picks,
right,
and then drafted a lot of good quality players that could potentially contribute in game one. As far as Eberflus goes, I like the attitude. And you know what? I like the fact that there's this issue with Teven Jenkins, because you know what it shows to me? It shows that Eberflus is not willing to kind of step to the side or be a pushover. He's saying, you know what? This is it. This is my way. We need to be better on the offensive line. We need to be mentally tougher as a team. Hey, Teven, if you can't handle it, then get the hell out of here. And I like that attitude, because that's what you need to be in football. You need to be tough. You need to be, you need to be practicing with pads and getting after it. Even that fine that the Bears were assessed a couple of months ago, I was okay with it, because you know what it shows? That this is old school football mentality. It shows that we're talking about being serious even during practices in June and July. So this seems like a different mindset and a more serious culture. So I like that about them. I just want to see results. So until we see results, I can't say they're horrible or they're great. We're going to have to see how this year plays out to know for sure.
Right. I totally agree. It's hard. Matt Nagy's first year, everybody was over the moon with the guy, right? Led them to the playoffs. Everybody thought, oh man, here we go. Sky's the limit. I kind of like some of the moves that Poles has made. Like you said, picked up a lot of draft capital. He wasn't afraid to move on from guys like Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack. And like you said, Eberflus, I liked the way Indy's defense played last year. I thought they played hungry, looking for the ball, which is something that this Bears team has really lacked the last 2 years. And I like that they got a little younger, because you're looking at a defense that, at least before all these moves, I was thinking, oh man, Justin Fields could have a hell of a season. But if you're allowing 50, 60 points a game, odds are you're not going to win those. And I know you brought up the Teven Jenkins thing. To me, that is the way they're handling it is perfect. That brings me to one of my other questions that I had. What went wrong with Jenkins? And is there any way to really repair that relationship? I know that a report had come out that he wanted, or they were going to trade him, and then they weren't going to trade him, and now they're going to trade him again. So what are your thoughts on the whole situation?
I think it's a situation that comes down to immaturity on Teven Jenkins' part. There's no question that he's talented. There's no question that he has the raw skill set to be a quality NFL player. But the fact is, this guy was supposed to be the 20th overall pick. Many mock drafts had the Bears taking him at 20, and he dropped all the way down to the late 30s, and the Bears traded up to get him. That's strike one. And when you see former scouts saying, oh, I wanted him completely off my team's draft board because I knew about his immaturity issues, that's a big red flag. And I'm shocked, well, not really shocked, that Ryan Pace overlooked it. I'm not shocked because Ryan Pace is crap. But really, I'm surprised that he overlooked that. I mean, if you have another scout saying we don't even want him on our draft board anymore, that's a big red flag. That's a problem. And obviously the Bears thought it didn't mean anything. Then all these injury issues, this is reminding me of like Chris Williams or Gabe Carimi all over again. Yep. I don't think anybody wants that. I think everybody's had enough of that stuff. The whole point of bringing in Jenkins was to reinforce the offensive line. And on the surface, Jenkins has enough skills without question to be a quality offensive line man. But the fact is, the maturity is going to keep getting in the way. The focus is going to keep getting in the way. I like the way they've handled it so far. The only thing that scares me is obviously trading him when you're probably going to get nothing back. But here's what I say to that. That's more of a reflection on Jenkins than anything. If the Bears are that hungry to trade you to where they're only going to get a 7th-round pick back, that goes to show you there's something seriously wrong with him. If the Bears are willing to give him up, barely playing, 2nd-round pick, they traded up to get him, and yet they're willing to just get rid of him no matter what, take him from us, hurry up before the season begins. Yeah. That's what the attitude seems to be. So that's a very serious reflection, in my opinion, on Teven Jenkins, that there's something wrong there. And I'm surprised.
Right.
I'd be surprised if any team wants him, knowing that that's the Bears' attitude towards him right now.
Right. And, he had these kind of issues back in college too, where I don't know if it was lazy or he just didn't believe in himself, but
Right.
you're 100% right. If the Bears, with the offensive line that they have, are really just okay with giving him away for a 6th-round pick, it would definitely reflect on the previous regime and how they had evaluated talent and the real mess that they did leave this team in for the next regime. I think, it seems like a lot of old Bears players are going down to Atlanta right now. So that could definitely be a possibility for Pace to get his guy back. Another Bear that's been in the news, Roquan Smith, right? Contract issues, not practicing with the team. Do you think the Bears and him get to an agreement on an extension before the season, or is this something that's going to carry on past this year?
I have a feeling it'll carry on, and this is through no fault of Ryan Poles. And I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think this is Ryan Poles' fault. I don't think this is really the Bears' fault. I think this is Roquan Smith's fault. I think Roquan's asking for a bit too much money. So Darius Leonard is the top paid linebacker at his position. Leonard's making around $19.7 million per year. Roquan wants more, at least. Yep. 20, 24, somewhere in those ranges. That's what we've seen being reported. He doesn't have an agent. He's being told what to do, I guess, by a family member. And what makes it even worse is this is a pattern. I wouldn't say anything if this was the first time. But
right.
It wouldn't matter. Look what happened. Rookie year, he's holding out with Ryan Pace. I was holding out again with Ryan Poles. I saw some people blaming Ryan Poles for this. This is not Ryan Poles' fault at all. He had nothing to do with this. Roquan Smith, if you want to be paid number one money, then be the number one at your position. That's the way I see it.
Right.
Leonard every year is an all-pro, not Roquan. Roquan's second team, or sometimes no team, right? I'm not saying Roquan Smith is bad. He's been snubbed. I've made countless videos talking about it. He's been snubbed at the Pro Bowl, snubbed at the All-Pro. He's been a very quality linebacker. But at the end of the day, if you want to make number one money, then you have to play like a number one. Right now, he's probably third, maybe second, third, fourth at his position, which is great. That doesn't mean you get number one money. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people aren't realizing or aren't thinking about. But it plays into this whole contract negotiation. And then again, this is a pattern. The fact that he's holding out for the second time under a brand new GM reflects poorly on him, not Ryan Poles.
Yeah, and then I believe, a couple of years ago, he was like MIA for a few weeks where he was going through personal things, he said. You're right, it is kind of a indictment on him. Do you want to lose a caliber player of like Roquan Smith? You never want to lose somebody like that, right? But for what he contributes on the field, he's not getting 10, 12 sacks a season. You know what I mean? He's getting a lot of tackles. He's good in coverage, but to pay that kind of money for a guy that's not getting to the quarterback, to me, is not a smart decision, especially for a new regime like this. All right.
$20 million, dude. $20 million, Ace, for Roquan Smith, I think, is just kind of a ripoff. And I know that might be tough for people to hear. He's a very good linebacker, but you got a new regime coming in. You have to lot your money smartly in this case. The Bears are going to have a lot of cap space moving forward. We all know that. But that doesn't mean you just overpay for the guys you already have and lose it all once again. You need to have this money set aside for reinforcements that you're going to need in the offensive line, potentially new wide receivers, maybe a new running back if David Montgomery and the Bears don't get to an agreement. There are going to be other holes that need to be filled besides linebacker. So Roquan Smith at this point, I think, should be grateful the Bears are offering him $15 million. That's more than enough money, and that's certainly worth what he puts out on the field.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Speaking of the defense, there's a lot of new pieces on the defense, right? You lost some old guys. Guys like Jalen Johnson, Eddie Jackson, especially Eddie Jackson, I think has struggled the last few seasons. Ever since Amos left, it's kind of been a rough road for him. Who do you see taking the biggest step forward on the defense this year, and why?
I think it's going to be a couple of those rookies. I think Brisker is supposed to be very good in the secondary, and I think that's something that the Bears lacked a couple of these past couple of years. Really, I mean, 2018 the Bears led the league in takeaways. I think it was 32 they had. A lot of interceptions, a lot of fumbles, and it slowly but surely went down, and that also contributed to the Bears going 8-8 the past couple of years. And then last year, obviously 6-11. So they needed reinforcements in the secondary. I think Brisker is going to have a really up and coming rookie type year. Same with Eddie Jackson. I haven't heard anything bad necessarily about Jackson this year with the new regime. Now that could change on a whim. Maybe he has a bad practice here or there, but you hear about Teven Jenkins, right? You hear about Teven Jenkins' issues. You don't hear about Eddie Jackson having issues. You'd think, based on his performance these past couple of years, that maybe he losing polls, he wouldn't fit in this new regime. But so far, I haven't heard any bad reporting about what Jackson has done. I think he's certainly a bounce-back candidate, no question. If he could replicate 2018, 2019-ish, that would be amazing. That'd be a revelation for the Bears. It'd be like signing a brand new secondary piece that you never had. So I think those two are going to be guys to watch for sure.
Yeah, I agree with Eddie Jackson. I think if he can be some kind of, semblance of what he was in 18 and 19, I think that only benefits this defense going forward to have a guy like that he can kind of lock down the back end of this defense. Now, defense is kind of the Bears thing, right? Every year, defense. Now we're hoping to switch to an offensive type of mindset, right? Obviously, Justin Fields is going to be the guy that everybody wants to see take that massive step forward, because without him, it's just not going to work. Other than him, who do you think could potentially take a big step forward, and why?
Good question. Right now, based on reports in training camp, St. Brown's actually doing very well. Apparently, he might not only make the opening day roster, but even maybe get that number 2 or number 3 wide receiver spot as we speak. He's doing a really good job in training camp. Fields and him are connecting really well. And this is somebody who I didn't expect to do anything. I mean, he has 98 career receiving yards as a career high. He got that last year in Green Bay, 6 catches, 98 yards. The Bears got him on a discount, obviously.
Yep.
I think he could really make an impact. And, at the end of the day, what does that mean, right? A guy coming in with 98 receiving yards. I think if St. Brown put up 300 or 400 yards, I think that'd be a big step for his career. So if that's what we're going to talk about, big step, I'd say probably that. St. Brown is certainly capable. I'd love to see what Jones does, Velus Jones. But, in that case, too, I don't know how the Bears are going to use him yet. There's a lot of talk about him being a comparison to Deebo Samuel. What does that mean for the Bears offense? Are they going to be running with Jones? Are they going to be passing to Jones? Is he going to be returning? What is he really going to do? That's yet to be seen. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of it in preseason. Jones could also be a candidate as well, depending on what his role is going to be moving forward.
I like Jones. I know people kind of, negative on him a little bit. I think it'd be nice to see a guy like him take a step forward.
Yeah.
I like that they brought in St. Brown. I'm a Bears fan, obviously, so anything green and gold, you can go and sit over there. But I think to bring a guy in that has seen a culture like Green Bay, seen a quarterback that can thrive, seen an offense that works, knows a winning mentality, especially on the wide receiver. Personally for me, I don't think having one dominant wide receiver is the ultimate thing. I think if you have 2-3 guys that are good to above average, that helps your quarterback feel a little bit more comfortable than just always having to rely on one guy. So I would like to see, Mooney, obviously, he's my hope. I would love to see him take that next step. A lot of people doubt that he can be that number 1 wide receiver. I think with a full offseason with Justin Fields, I think we're going to see that chemistry grow a little bit more. The major guy that I really want to see take a step forward would be Cole Kmet, right? He's shown flashes every once in a while, but nothing consistent that would lead you to be like, okay, that's our tight end going forward. If he's not the guy that we hoped he was going to be when they drafted him, the Bears have a few more issues than I'd like to admit, Now, Justin Fields, right? Everybody talks about, is he the guy with a new head coach, new front office? Is it even going to be really fair to judge him as, is he going to be the guy or not with this whole new offense?
Yeah. No, it's not going to be fair. And I think we all still have to be patient with him. To the demise of many people who want to call him the savior right now, got to be patient. And if he doesn't do well, why doesn't he do well? That's going to be my question to everybody who wants to evaluate and prognosticate about Justin Fields moving forward this season. Why didn't he do well if he failed? Was it him? Was it errant throws? Or was it bad wide receiving and everybody dropping the football? Was it lots of interceptions based on tipping it off a receiver or tipping it off the fingertips, or were they bad throws? Was he getting sacked a lot because he's taking too much time in the pocket or the offensive line still isn't there? Did he fumble the ball too much? That's on Justin Fields himself. These are the things that I'm going to be looking for. I don't really care about record right now. I want to see how he can improve. Will his numbers be similar to last year or not? See, there are a bunch of confounding factors with evaluating Justin Fields. It's going to make it very hard. And I think some people, unfortunately, are going to succumb to a wrong opinion because they're just going to look at numbers straight up and say, oh, he had 20 picks and, 15 touchdowns and all those 20 picks were on him and he had 2 fumbles and it's all going to be on his fault. No, not necessarily. I want to watch every single interception. I want to watch every single fumble. I want to watch every single incomplete pass. Because he has a 59% completion percentage, that doesn't mean he sucks. It could mean that the receivers can't catch the football. So I think we have to be very careful in how we evaluate Fields this year. Obviously, we need to make sure that that the team could rally around him, that he can be a leader. And those are things we're going to see throughout the year. Those are intangibles. You can't really quantify it. But more than anything, we want to make sure that we judge him not just on numbers only. That's going to be the challenge, I think, for this new regime and for all of us watching. We can't judge him just on numbers. We have to take into consideration the fact that his team is rebuilding. He has no weapons or very few weapons right now. And he himself, by the way, is learning a brand new offense, which we forget about. Look at Baker Mayfield. 4 offenses, 4 years. They kicked him out of Cleveland. Now he's going to be on the Panthers. I would hope that doesn't happen to Justin Fields, but they're on the pattern right now.
Yeah.
Brand new offense, year 2. This is going to take some time for him to figure out.
Yeah, and you kind of seen a little bit of the frustration with him. What was it, yesterday, I think, after practice, where somebody had asked him, why the offense is struggling. And he basically said, like, you guys aren't the ones that are out there. You don't know what it, and he's kind of put his foot in his mouth a few times. Last year, he did it with the speed of the game thing and then got destroyed against Cleveland. Yep. I think going for him, I would like to see him be calm. Sometimes last year, I felt like he rushed a little bit to make a decision. That could definitely be because of the coaching. Obviously, Nagy has proven that he didn't really give his players the autonomy to do what they should do. I would like to see his footwork. I know that last year he struggled to release the ball quickly. I would like to see more decisiveness from him. I think if you can see those things, you can see, during the game, if these drives are sustained long drives and okay, you might not score, but you're not making those dumb plays where, okay, you're throwing behind a receiver to get picked off. Or I just want to see him make smart plays going forward and to elevate some of these guys that are on this team, like the guys that we discussed earlier. I think if we can see him elevate some of these other guys, that's how you'll know if he's going to be the guy or not.
And I'll say this too. I think he already has to an extent. I mean, Darnell Mooney had a 1,000-yard year last year. In my opinion, Darnell Mooney's not a number 1 wide receiver yet, and I don't know if he's ever going to be. I would hope he could, but I really don't think so right now. So the fact that he put up 1,000 yards, that's Justin Fields elevating somebody. Cole Kmet getting 500 receiving yards is unbelievable to me. The guy cannot hold on to the football, and he scores no touchdowns. I am not a big fan of Cole Kmet, and this is a big test year for him. But the fact that his stat line looked good last year, that's a testament to Justin Fields, not anybody else. So he's shown that he can elevate other people. The question is, though, can he take care of the football? Can he, improve his footwork and stay calm? These are things that are going to come with time for him. But even more than that, does he have enough talent around him to show some sort of improvement and to lead this Bears team to a better record? That remains to be seen. But again, I like that philosophy. Does he get anybody else better? And does he himself get better, regardless of record or regardless of pure numbers? Do we see with our eyes improvement, not on the stat line, but in the game? That's going to be the biggest question moving forward.
Absolutely. John, I appreciate you jumping on with me, man. I know we've been trying to get this going for about a year now, and it was fast. I messaged you. You were like, hey, how about tomorrow? And hell yeah, I got you on. And I enjoyed the conversation. A lot of kind of rapid fire, which I kind of like, go through some things, tell the people what they want to hear and go from there. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you?
Sure. Thank you, Ames. First of all, I just want to say thank you. You caught me finally when I graduated from school, so there's no more 10-page papers to write. So now I got more time to, spend time with you, and I hope we can continue this moving forward and do something else down the road. You guys can find me sportstalkchicago.com or Find me on YouTube, Sports Talk Chicago. Got about 14,000 subscribers there. So feel free to find me all those places. We're on WCKG. I'm the sports director of WCKG, so you can find me there as well. And VPod TV, channel 59.3. So all over the place. But if you just remember Sports Talk Chicago, you're fine. Put it into Google or something. You'll be okay. You'll find whatever you need to find.
All right, man. Thank you again for jumping on with me. I can't wait to do this again. Maybe we'll catch up sometime during the season.
For sure. That sounds great. Thank you so much, Ace. Really appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, man.